Hello and welcome back to another video as we return to Premier League action after a successful FA Cup weekend. I covered Fulham against Man United on Sunday of last week, backing Anthony Robinson to register a couple of shots and Andres Pereira to find himself carded, both of which duly obliged, with Robinson managing 2 shots which landed a 5-1 shout. This week we return to the Premier League, Tottenham against Bournemouth, which is a 2 PM kickoff on Sunday. Preceding game is Man United against Arsenal, which should be a good one, so it's a Sunday I'm really looking forward to. I've decided to cover the Spurs against Bournemouth game instead, because it's also televised and want to avoid covering Man United 3 weeks in a row just to sort of freshen up the content and avoid repeating some of the trends I've already mentioned. Anyway, I've also got some solid angles for this one, so stick around until the end where there will be a summary. Despite losing in this fixture just a couple of weeks ago, Bournemouth were able to enact some revenge on Wolves by knocking them out of the FA Cup on penalties. Bournemouth were the much better side in that game. They managed 31 shots, conceding just 9 in return, and I think their progression was readily deserved. Andoni Iraola will be without regular centre-backs Marcus Senesi and Ilya Zabani, with the latter serving the final game of his suspension. Meanwhile, Adam Smith and Julian Araujo are both out, which has led to Lewis Cook featuring at right back. Also, with Ryan Christie nursing a thigh injury, it's likely that we see Tyler Adams start in midfield alongside Alex Scott. I don't expect to see a lineup too dissimilar to that which started against Wolves. Potentially we might see Justin Kluivert start instead of David Brooks in that attacking midfield role, and potentially Ouattara come in to a starting role on the left, given that he's been in quite good form for Bournemouth. Spurs were beaten 1-0 by Man City last time out in the Premier League. They do return to action tonight in the Europa League, where they play AZ Alkmaar at 5:45. This is their predicted lineup according to SofaScore. Notably, Kulusevski is ruled out of this clash, while Solanke, although he had returned to training for Spurs, is very unlikely to feature given that he wasn't even named on the bench against Manchester City. Because of that, I would expect to see this kind of lineup for Spurs tonight, although that might change for the weekend. We might see Solanke slot back into a starting position if he is deemed fit enough, while Udogie could again return to left back. Given that Spurs do obviously have a midweek fixture today, predicting their lineup is a bit difficult, especially given that they have quite a few players on the verge of returning from injury, so that might just be worth monitoring. However, it is worth noting that they do rank second in the league this season for total fouls drawn. And so my first angle is for Tyler Adams to commit 2 or more fouls, which is priced at 1.91 with Paddy Power, or alternatively Tyler Adams to commit a first half foul, which is priced at 1.8. Personally, I do think the first half angle holds slightly more value, given that it's landed in 7 of the last 9 starts for Tyler Adams. However, I do think it's worth noting that the American should be in line to play the full 90 here. Ryan Christie is very likely to miss this game through injury, while I expect Lewis Cook to line up at right back in the absence of Julian Araujo and Adam Smith, as I've already mentioned. And I do think that presents an opportunity for Adams once again to have quite high expected minutes in this game. He's actually played the full 90 in each of his last 8 starts, and the game before that against West Brom in the FA Cup he played 89 minutes, so he's clearly operating at quite a high fitness level. He's trusted by Iraola, and in a good matchup against Spurs, I do think his foul prices do really appeal in this game. Just from the eye test, Tyler Adams is a good player to target for fouls, given that he's very aggressive in his press. A testament to that, he's averaging 4.52 tackles per 90 this season, in addition to 2.1 fouls per 90, so his duel stats are incredibly high in midfield, and again, against a good matchup in Spurs, I do think there'll be plenty of defensive work for him to get through, especially if he is to play the full 90. Now, I am going to introduce a third potential angle, and that is Tyler Adams over 4.5 tackles, which is priced at even money with William Hill, or 1.83 with Bet365. Again, I do think that is a viable angle to attack this bet. However, I think if I was to rank the 3, I would go Tyler Adams' first half foul is the best price at 1.8, or presents the best value. Tyler Adams over 1.5 fouls is second at 1.91. And then finally, Tyler Adams over 4.5 tackles is third, but still a good bet at 2.0 with William Hill. Bournemouth were absolutely dominant against Spurs in the reverse fixture. It was quite a memorable game actually, Even though it only finished 1-0, Bournemouth had so many chances, most of which were of a very high quality nature as well. They racked up 3.71 XG from 21 shots, with the game somehow finishing just 1-0, so they might actually be looking forward to this game against Spurs. Django Ouattara was a player who was guilty of missing quite a lot of chances for Bournemouth in that game against Spurs. He appeared for just the last half an hour off the bench, registering 5 shots, all of which were inside the box, and he couldn't even get a single one on target. However, since then, it's worth mentioning that he has been in quite excellent form, recently netting a hat-trick against Nottingham Forest. I do want to mention him briefly. I'm not convinced he starts against Spurs in this game just because of the return for Evan Nilsson. However, he's priced at 1.83 with Bet365 to register 3 or more shots, which I do think presents quite good value. And that's because he's landed this bet in 7 of his last 10 starts. 2 of those failures again were against Chelsea, where he had 0 shots, and Liverpool, where he had 1 shot, so much tougher defensive matchups than Tottenham will be. And just based on how we performed in the reverse fixture at the Vitality with 5 shots in half an hour, if he is to start, maybe play around the 80-minute mark, I do think the line being at 3 shots is a bit low. Entertainment and chances at either end of the field is certainly expected in this game, as we have quite a high corner line, a high card line, and a high goal line. Over 3.5 goals is priced at 2.0, and just based on how Bournemouth performed in the reverse fixture and how unlucky they were to just score the 1 goal, I am quite interested in their goal scorer prices. Assuming he reclaims his starting spot in that attacking midfield role, another price I do really like is Justin Kluivert to score or assist, which is priced at 2.2 with Bet365, or alternatively, if you do have access to a Unibet account, he's priced at 2.4 there. I do think anything above sort of even money is good value in this one, given that Kluivert has either scored or assisted in 8 of his last 9 games on the road when playing at least 45 minutes. Kluivert is actually averaging 0.88 goal involvement per 90 this season for Bournemouth in all competitions, which is comfortably actually the highest in the squad, which might come as a bit of a surprise. He's been one of the top performers under Iraola and deserves a bit of credit. Again, in a good matchup against Spurs, who Bournemouth had a lot of success against in the reverse fixture, with such a high goal line, and with Kluivert being on penalties, I do think this price of 2.2 Bet365 looks a fantastic play. That will be all the bets I intended to cover in this video, so just to quickly summarise, the bets I've taken is Tyler Adams first half foul at 1.8, alternatively Tyler Adams over 1.5 fouls in the match at 1.91 with Paddy Power, or over 4.5 tackles at 2.0 with William Hill. Secondly, I covered Django Ouattara to have 3 or more shots, priced at 1.83 with Bet365, and finally Kluivert to register a goal or assist at 2.2 with Bet365. I'm going to have a short upcoming hiatus on videos. I'll be unavailable next week, and then we do obviously have the internationals, so I would just like to take this opportunity to thank you for your support on the channel. Up until now, best of luck for any bets you decide to go with for this game, and I will catch up with you all soon enough.